Okay.
Hi guys, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Now a lot of us know that in 2016, Games Workshop made some massive strides in bringing new people into the hobby with their start collecting boxes. The 2-player boxes have always been there, like the starter sets. And I wanted to really embrace that. So you'll see a lot of the content here on this channel and then back at the website, which will be in the show notes, or this little thing up here. A lot of those things have been geared towards new people, and I wanted to continue that. So if you are new, first of all, welcome. This is one of the best hobbies ever. And this video is going to be walking you through how to assemble your first model. We're going to go through a few steps here. We're going to clipping off the sprue, taking off the mold lines, gluing it together, and then we'll do basing and more kind of formal things later on. But those are really the main steps here if you're just looking at a sprue and you're super confused. So go ahead, have a seat, and let's get started. All right, so let's begin here. If you open your first box of models, you're obviously going to see your very first sprue. This is from the Betrayal at Calth set. This is the two, one's a Terminator captain, the other one's just a dude. I can't remember the actual technical titles within the game itself. I'm fairly new to 30K, so this is actually a new sprue for me to look at. So, to get started, you're going to need a few things. Let me get this out of the way. You're going to need a pair of clippers. This is essential for getting basically the models off of the sprue. It really helps as far as if there's very thick parts, that chompy bit right there tears right through them. So I'm going to put this over here. Your basic hobby knife. This is about $2 from just about any craft store will have them for you. And so what you do is you clip them off with the clippers, and then what we're going to do, I'll demonstrate it for you, is go through and get rid of the flash, the little edges that are left over on the model itself. Now, lastly, we're going to use glue. So this is Citadel plastic glue. There are other brands. I just got this at Steel. It was on sale. So here's the thing. If you're building plastic models, this is my favorite thing to use. If you're building resin, this will do nothing. By that I mean the actual physical compounds don't bind with resin when you use plastic glue. What this really does is it takes, let me put it over here to give you a diagram here, it takes the two pieces that you've glued, when you put them together, it actually melts them and they kind of come together like that, so it makes a solid piece. It does absolutely nothing like that on resin. It just, it's a light adhesive if at best, and your models will fall apart. So be sure to be aware of what you're working with when you use plastic glue versus say super glue, which is kind of works on everything. So going back to our model here. Let's build the non-Terminator one here, okay? So I'm gonna get my clippers. And I'm gonna fast forward this, but we're just gonna literally clip out parts that we need from him. Okay, and when you're done clipping everything off, you're gonna wind up with a big pile of parts like this. Now for smaller models, it's okay to clip everything off. If it's a really big, intricate one, try to do it in sections. So say this was a really big guy, we would just do like the torso and cape thing so that all of these don't get confused with all of these, and then you don't have to go sorting through. But he's a little dude, so let's not worry about it. Next thing you want to do is grab your hobby knife here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this stuff out of the way and show you the way to get a nice clean looking model here. So you see this little part right here. Camera's trying to focus. That's a part that we clipped off of the sprue. There's also one right here on the backpack, that little white dot. And so what we want to do is kind of cut the edges to make that little bit of flash go away, so make it look nice and clean. So we're going to start at the cape here. Line your blade up, and you want to go as parallel to the surface that you're going. So see how the cape swoops? We're going to do that exact same motion. And we're just going to pick at it. And pick some more. Pick more. And pick some more. And as you're doing it, you can feel it becoming smoother and smoother. And just do little streaks. Don't dig into it to try and pry it out. Just do several little scrapes. Remember, it's plastic, it's not concrete. And so even though you can see it with your eyes, the truth of it is that that is now actually a smooth surface here. You might notice some color distortion just because you saw the inside of the plastic versus the finished outside like this. But if you actually literally use your finger and feel it, you can feel that it's nice and smooth. This way, when you go and put the primer on, it'll look smooth in the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up that exact same process. One other thing I really want to mention here is if you look at this piece, this is actually a really good one because you're going to see this a lot if you play Space Marines. I'm trying to get it in the focus of the camera here, but there is a small mold line that runs up this entire length right here. You can just see it kind of glisten off the light. So even though you didn't cut the sprue from here, when a model is made, basically you take a flat surface and inject a bunch of plastic into it, and this is literally the mold line between the top half and the bottom half of the line. Now typically they're pretty good about making them pretty discreet, but if one is particularly bad or you really want to be extra thorough, what you can do is do that exact same maneuver just very lightly. Go ahead and run parallel to the plate armor, and you can make that line disappear. Now, most of the time that's not going to be the biggest deal. There are, however, models where the mold lines are super predominant. This is particularly the case with older molds. The older the model, the more those molds don't hold up very well and they don't seal as tight, so the line that separates them becomes more predominant. So keep that in mind as you're building your models, that you're keeping an eye out for mold lines as well as the actual sprue bits where you cut it off from. All right, and the last go, we're going to talk about actually gluing the model. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. It is all assuming you have the correct glue. So these models are plastic, so I'm going to go ahead and use that plastic glue that I mentioned before. We have in this particular scenario is this body is going to, it's kind of like almost like a spinal rod. He is going to come in here and just kind of lock in place just like that. So he looks nice and good. Okay, so there are a few ways to do this. What I find is the nice thing about plastic glue is that a little goes a long way, and that is the key thing that I can tell you. The smallest amount of glue goes a long way. So pop that back out. Look for key points, like this is the dead center where that rod's going to go. A little around the neck, he's going to fill in the back just a smidge. So I'm really just doing the core of the body and the hip where it's going to meet. So let's get that out of here. And we'll line it right back up the way we had it. So it locks right in there. And just go ahead and hold it as best you can. Just a couple of seconds, maybe 10-15 seconds. Nice thing about plastic glue is it adheres extremely fast. So go ahead and do that. And as you can see, oh, I dropped him. He is ready to roll. He is all glued in and secure. So now we're just going to really quickly do the rest of it. Always follow the instructions that you have with you. They are super important for the order of operations. For example, if I was to put the cloak on to the front panel first, I would have nobody get the head and leg in. Stuff like that. So just remember that. It's incredibly important to follow the instructions and the actual order of operations for you. Okay, and with that, we've completed our very first model, guys. As you can see, I've taken a little extra time here to go through and make sure I clean up all the mold lines. There is a line here in the cape. One part had a piece of the cape, the other part didn't. And so what I did was took the plastic glue and ran it along that edge, knowing that the plastic glue is going to melt those two parts together so that when he's all done, he's going to look nice and fluid and flat rather than pieces glued together, literally. So there you go, you built your very first model, followed along with me, learned to take some of the sprue, take a model off the sprue, and then take the mold lines off and things like that. If you are interested in going further in this hobby, please click subscribe. We always have more content for new folks, and head over to the blog, and there's always content churning out here. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming.